The Oklahoma City Thunder are the NBA champions. Let's review their 24-25 season. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NBA fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd. Grok, is this true? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so hit the thumb up, double bang it, leave your comments. Wednesday, it is the NBA draft, and we're doing a live show, 8 p.m. Eastern here on YouTube. Maybe we go a little bit earlier, we'll see. But 8 p.m. Eastern will be here for the draft, so be sure to be a part of it and discuss everything as it goes down. The Thunder didn't go down. By the way, it is Caboclo Day in Brazil. Not in honor of Bruno, but Caboclo is a group of people in Brazil. So I've learned, and it's the day to celebrate it. And I thought, given we are talking about the NBA, it was apropos to celebrate Caboclo Day here as well. But we're also celebrating the fact that the Oklahoma City Thunder have won their first title. Yes, Seattle won a title, not the same team. I don't care what you say. Seattle fans won't celebrate this one. Oklahoma City fans don't celebrate the Seattle stuff. It's an annoying part of history, and Seattle is hopefully coming back very soon. But this is the Thunder's first NBA title, and I love it. I love a new team, a new fan base, especially a passionate fan base, being able to experience that success. I don't want to hear I hate it. The worst champion in 15 years. You know what? Eat that. What are you talking about? Have you ever watched basketball before? This is one of the most dominant teams we have seen. Yes, they got pushed in the playoffs, which is great. It's fantastic. They could have lost Game 7 had Tyrese Haliburton not got hurt. Also, unbelievably awesome. The level of basketball played was at an incredibly high level. Oh, I hate the flopping. Okay. That's okay. You hate it, but whatever you want. Teams do it. The NBA was not favoring the Thunder all the way through, as some, honestly, clowns think that happened. This was a team that was awesome all season. They won the title. They faced the challenges. They had many injuries during the regular season, not the playoffs. Asterisks, he gets shoved right up my clacker. Don't care about it. They're the champions. Celebrate it and enjoy it. The next part is if you are fatalist about this. Oh, now the Thunder. Well, look, they've got all these players, these draft picks, they're going to win every year. No, absolutely not. I think what your takeaway from this season should be the Thunder have done an unbelievable job of team building. They're an incredibly strong team. They could have lost multiple times in this playoff run. The Pacers could have beaten them. Through being more talented? Not necessarily. Just through game planning, hustle, effort, all that stuff. The Nuggets could have beaten them, sure. And you know what could also happen? And we don't want it to happen, but we've seen it happen to Jason Tatum, Tyrese Haliburton. What if Shai gets hurt? Then everything was wide open. So this idea that everything is just decided for the next 5 years is garbage. Enjoy the level of basketball we have. It is unbelievably high. This team is built immaculately. It is an unbelievable job from Sam Presti, the best GM in the NBA. And they delivered. And it wasn't as fait accompli and dominant as you might think it was in the playoffs. They could have lost at many different points. And it is awesome that they were able to get it done. And I love that and celebrate it all the way through. Let's talk a little bit more about this Thunder team. We're going to be talking about the over 25s in this portion of the show. We'll do the under 25s in a second show. Of course, we know how good they were during the regular season, 64 and 18. That's ridiculously good. They also have pick number 15 in this draft. They also have pick number 24 in this draft. They also have pick number 44 in this draft. And you'll notice that none of those picks are their own, because their pick is pick 30, which they don't have. The Clippers have that pick. So they are going to be in a situation here where they can make trades. They've got future picks. They can do a lot of stuff. In terms of free agency, for some reason, my free agency slide for their team options has gone. There's really not that many guys that could leave. There's AJ Mitchell, who has a team option for $3 million. And then there's Pig Williams, who has a team option for $2.2 million. I would expect that both of those guys return, but also, who knows? Because they do have 3 draft picks coming in, and you need to create roster spaces for those. So that's either going to require trades or it's going to require, cutting guys. Like, do they just decline the option of Mitchell or Williams? I doubt it, but like, you've got guys on this team. Like, you look at the team, like Usman Jeng's got to be pretty worried about where his future is. Isaiah Joe, probably the same. I would imagine that pick 44 will sign up on a two-way deal, but we need 2 roster spots. And Pig Williams, I'm pretty sure, will be around. Will Dylan Jones stick around? AJ Mitchell? Yeah, probably, but who knows? There is a lot that can happen with this team. They need to make decisions. And this is a team that historically has, them and the Grizzlies have usually done this, they go into training camp with like 17 guaranteed contracts, plus 2 ways. And you go, well, there's got to be cuts coming. Something's got to happen. They don't make all their moves necessarily early on, and then sit on and go, well, here's our 15, here's our 2 ways, we're done. They'll go in with 18 guaranteed contracts or 18 full NBA contracts, and they go, right, let's make the calls. So be aware of that as well. In terms of restricted free agents, they got 3 of them. They're 3 two-way players. Branden Carlson showed a few little things during the season as a stretch big man. Adam Flagler's a shooting guard type of player who I'm not really sure is a priority player to bring back. And then Alex Dukas, Australian legend, who, like, shooter, yeah. Did we see enough? Well, we'll talk about that in another show. Probably not. But that's it. The core of this team returns. Plus, a lottery pick from this last draft that we just saw. So, yeah, they are a strong team. But again, it does not mean that they are unbeatable, because they very clearly are not unbeatable because they almost lost. But let's talk about the player that you could say is the best player in the NBA. He's the MVP. He's the finals MVP. He's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Will he go at pick number 1 in fantasy drafts? No. Could you make an argument to take him there? I guess so. My Durant ranking systems had him number 1 this past season. Yes, he was that good. Now, again, he probably won't go at 1. He will probably go at 2, or at worst 3 in drafts. In points leagues, he was 4th, 54.1 points. He's 27. He is bang in the middle of his prime. He had 35 usage. The transition of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander into this player is an outlier. So when you compare Shai rookie numbers or second-year numbers to, say, I don't know, let me pull this name out of thin air, Steph Castle, and then go, well, that's what he was better than Shai as a rookie, I couldn't stress to you enough that that doesn't mean anything. Because what Shai has done in this developmental path is the reason that you compare it to Shai, because you can't find anyone else to compare it to. Because it doesn't happen. Shai averaged 33 points, 5 rebounds and 6.5 assists, with 1.7 steals and a block, shooting 52 and 90 and 38 from 3. The 3-point volume is up, which is one of the things that he was lacking. I worried about where his defensive stats would sit. They've stabilized. His free throws back to 90. Remember, 2 years ago, he was an 81% free throw guy. Now he's become a 90 guy. And of course, he gets to the line a million times. We know who he is. Gigantic offensive load, strong passer, not the best passer, but a very good passer. A good defensive stat generator, but not the best defensive player. He's not as good defensively as his stats lead us to believe, but that's okay, because he's a 35 usage guy who's still an impact defender. Is he the 5th best defender on this team? Probably, but whatever. Those numbers are ridiculous. And you look at these numbers and I go, okay, what's changing? What will he do less of? He didn't play 38 minutes, he played 34. Will he now average fewer than 6.4 assists? I don't see why. The only things that could legitimately change here, I think, is 89.8. He could have a down year and shoot 87. Maybe he has a randomly bad year, and we know free throws can have these random bad years chucked in, where he shoots 80. Right? That could happen, and that drops a little bit of value. The thing that I would target is the thing that I always target for variance, and that is defensive stats. 1.7 steals. It could be 2. It could be 1.3. 1 block could be 1.1. It could be 0.7. But given those numbers as high as they are, it's more likely that they drop than they go up. Does it really change anything about Shai? Not really. But what are we doing with him? Is he going to be a bad 3-point shooter again? Possible. Will the volume drop? Yeah, I don't know. I think he's sort of discovered where he needs to be. All in all, I don't really know what else there is to say about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander from a fantasy point of view. If you take him at pick 2, I think you're going to go okay. Again, in points leagues, not quite that level. People were very scared to take Shai a few years ago because of injuries. Don't have that fear anymore. Again, that fear was unfounded, but people don't have that fear anymore. Doesn't preclude him from getting injured, of course. This is just a guy right at the smack bang of his prime. No reason to suggest these numbers can't hover in this area for 4 or 5 years. This is him. Unbelievable. And yeah, a real anchor for fantasy teams. We've got more of the Thunder over 25s, which is a pretty solid group to talk about in a sec. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by Monarch Money. You ever check in on your bank account and wonder where all the money go? You're dining out. There's online shopping. There is, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander merch. There's entertainment. It's easy to lose track. And that's where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. But it's not just budgeting out the old Monarch Money. It's a complete financial command center. Track your accounts, your investments, your spending, your budgeting. It's all there. So stop just managing your money and start building your wealth. And the all-in-one convenience of instead of having all the multiple apps to open and check your balances in certain spots, you can just funnel it all through Monarch Money so you can see it all with one snapshot. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. The code is LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by OpenPhone. So if you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. If you've got an urgent need, say you're at home, living your life, and the toilet starts shooting water out of it, and you go, hey, what's going on here? You call a plumber, and they don't answer. What do? I'll wait till they get back to me in the morning. Nah, you go to the next one, because you don't want to wait for that response. That's where OpenPhone comes in. You don't want to miss any of those calls. OpenPhone is the number one business phone system built to streamline and scale your customer communications, all from an app on your phone or your computer. There's a shared inbox feature as well, which is a game changer, meaning that your team can jump in on any conversation at any point without missing a beat. OpenPhone is offering you guys 20% off their first 6 months at openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. That is openphone.com/LockedOnNBA. And if you have an existing number with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone, no missed calls, no missed customers. We're talking NBA champions. We're talking the Oklahoma City Thunder because they did it. Again, there's often a idea of like, oh, I can't pick them to win the title because they've never done it before. At some point, in order to do it before, you have to do it for the first time. And I think a lot of people did pick the Thunder to win the title this season, and they were correct. I picked the Thunder to win the title. I picked the Thunder to win in 6 in the finals. Didn't get that one right. But again, it could have gone many different ways. Let's talk about their two big moves in the offseason. And one of them was signing Isaiah Hartenstein, who had been an incredibly analytically darling type player from his draft year. Like a guy that I looked at and went, oh, this is an interesting player in the second round. What is this guy? And then his limited minutes for Houston, and then with Rio Grande Valley, and then his time with the Nuggets, and his time with the Clippers, and then his time with the Knicks. I was like, hey, why isn't this guy getting the recognition? And he got it, finally. He was strong. I don't know that he was as good as we expected at times and had some struggles during the finals. In the end, his ADP was 82. I had him ranked 78th for the season. He finished 69th. But part of the thing that I guess flattened some of the intrigue about Hartenstein this season is he missed the start of the season with a broken hand and then took that time to come back. I think he was still really awesome. He is and in the past, I think there was actually room to improve here. He averaged 11 and 11. In 28 minutes. They've got such an embarrassment of riches in this team that he can start games, he can come off the bench, he provides chop outs for Chet, we know all this stuff. He only averaged 4 assists. He can do more than that. He only averaged 1.1 blocks. He can do more than that. He shot 58 and 68 from the field and from the line, and honestly, he can be better on both of those. I don't like the fact that he's just stopped taking threes. I do think that he could be an okay three-point shooter, but he just doesn't take them anymore. And that is probably something that helps the field goals, but hurts the overall production. And you see, low usage guy. Not as low as playing for Tom Thibodeau, of course, but 17 usage. I don't really, obviously there was a period here when Chet was out, where Hartenstein did more and Chet came back and he dropped off. So when we look at the totality of these numbers from Hartenstein, you could drop them down. But in saying that, post-trade deadline, his fantasy rank was better than pre-trade deadline. And post was when Chet was there. Not all of it, but a lot of it. So in this 70 to 80 zone, I wouldn't look at this and go, well, Hartenstein could be a top 40 player. I don't think that's going to be something they change and unleash. But a solid center, a double-double-ish type of threat with good field goals, steals, blocks, above average passing for his position very clearly, it's solid. What's changing? He's also, much like Shai, 27. He's in the middle and the beginning of his prime. Now, his prime won't last as long as Shai's. And if there was a situation where Chet was to miss an entirety of a season and Hartenstein wasn't injured, he would be a top 40 player. No question about that to me, because he can do all those things. And there are many things on here that can improve. He can do more in blocks. He can be better free throws. He can be better field goals. But we're not going to bank on that. We just look at him as a 70s guy, an 80s guy maybe. Points leagues, what was he? 68? Cool. Look, again, maybe we knock a little bit off and he averages 26 minutes a game next season because Chet is more healthy. It's fine. He is, I think, relatively rock solid in terms of the production. The other big acquisition was them trading away 22-year-old or 21 at the time, Josh Giddey, who was their 6th overall pick, and people love the triple-doubles, for Alex Caruso without giving up anything else. And Caruso, I'm not going to tell you that he was the reason they won the title, but I will say this, I'm not sure they win the title if they don't have Alex Caruso, because he is that good. He is an absolutely elite role player. He is one of the, and this is not hyperbolic, Alex Caruso is one of the best perimeter defenders in the last 20 years, without question. I could even say one of the best defenders. And you can say, well, look what he gets away with. Sure, he does put hands on people, but he knows his limits, right? He knows what he does and gets away with. This is an unbelievable defensive player. He is that good. He was an incredible fantasy disappointment this season, and those two things go together. I had him ranked 85th. His ADP was 103. I thought, given how good he was and how well he played in Chicago, that they would come in and they would find 27 minutes a night for him. But they did not do that. He played 19 minutes a game during the regular season, Alex Caruso. 19. And that's really where I got it wrong. I know that Alex Caruso is very good. I think that is proven correct how good he is. I did not know that the Thunder would go that hard on reducing his minutes. I didn't know that would be something they did. He played 5 additional minutes in the playoffs, 24 minutes a night. He got his steals. He blocked shots. He hit threes, not at the same level as previous seasons. He just didn't need to do the things that he needed to do in Chicago, and they just preserved him. Simple as that. He had about 1 million ankle sprains as well during the year. He played 54 games in 19 minutes. And he's 31 now. I would say that we just don't draft Alex Caruso next season. There is no reason for it. Even though, like, post-trade deadline, 127th ranked player. In points leagues, you don't even consider it. Unless you're in a 20-teamer, that's the only time. He's not going to come in and play 27 minutes a game next season. That is just not happening. He will play 20 minutes again, I'm guessing. They'll keep him fresh. They'll keep him healthy. He'll be impactful. And he'll do his damage in the playoffs again. He shot well from the line. He got his bit of assists. He hit threes. They just didn't need him to do as much. I thought he would do way more. I was completely wrong on the role they would give him, but I wasn't wrong on how good he was. And he is an integral part of this squad and what he does. I do not like this next guy as a fantasy guy or even a real-life player. I think Lu Dort is incredibly overrated. Yes, he flops a lot. That is true. I think there are at times that he is an incredibly overrated defender, and I think his offense is embarrassingly bad at times. But one of the things that I will praise Lu Dort for is that back in the bad Thunder days, when Dort was the undrafted free agent and would come in and then his usage would be high and he'd be taking these bad shots and be going, what are you doing? Like, you're not good enough to do this. But as the team has gotten better, he's pulled back. He just said, cool, right? I'm not taking those shots anymore. He's a 13 usage player. He averaged 10 points and 2.5 threes and shot 41%. And his ability to go from a guy who could not shoot, and he's not a feared shooter, but he's knocking him down at 40% in multiple seasons. He doesn't do anything else. 1.1 steals is fine in 29 minutes. I still firmly believe that he will transition out of being a starter soon. But it hasn't happened yet. And he is 26. What? He's still 26 only. He was 146th in category leagues this season, 134th before the deadline, 211th after it. That was when Chet returned. Caruso played a little bit more and they didn't use Dort as much. His value is he hits threes, there's some steals there, and there's nothing more. We do not consider Lu Dort in fantasy formats, in categories in 10s or 12s, in 14s maybe, and in points leagues, we look at him more as a 16-team league guy. He is someone who can get red hot and have like a 3-game shooting spike where he goes crazy. But overall, he's never going to be a usage guy. He's not going to be a scoring player. He's a good defensive player who can at times be overrated in that role, but it doesn't generate gigantic numbers. So overall, he's just a fantasy nothing. And we treat him that way. But we understand that part of his impact in fantasy is being there, getting 28 minutes a night, and maybe preventing breakouts from other guys. Alex Caruso, or Clayson Wallace, for example. Guys that would have to step up if Dort just magically didn't exist. But the role on the role he plays on this team is important. I still think they could get away with playing him a little bit less, but some of the stupid stuff that he used to do has declined. and has sort of faded away, which is always going to be a W. With a few more guys to talk about. Today's episode, though, is brought to you by FanDuel, and summer sports are now in full swing. So it might be baseball, under the lights, you're out playing golf, it's high-stakes soccer. FanDuel is the best way to make every game more exciting. You're already following that action, so why don't you make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. What idiots! At the beach, sunburned, cancer, what are we doing? FanDuel is a great way to track all of your favorite sports, get a little bit of action in there, use your knowledge, put it to the test, brag to your mates about it. Do whatever you need to do. There's same game parlays, you can do live betting. It can get in there and really give you something to focus on. And honestly, spread your attention around many different things you don't always see. Different teams, different players, different leagues. So if you're new to FanDuel, new customers, you can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. Okay, let's go through the rest of these over 25s on the Oklahoma City Thunder. We've gone through the major contributors, but now we go on to a guy who is simultaneously overrated and underrated at the same time. And we're talking about Aaron Wiggins, who is one of these players that was a really late draft pick, didn't really think anything of him as a player, and then worked his way into big guy. Who's this guy? And then he would come in and he would start games. And then he would have incredible hot streaks. He is, shockingly enough, 26. He had a 20 usage. He's turned into a guy that I think in his first season, he was more of he's a defensive guy with some, let's see how the shooting goes. I'm not really convinced, but now he's like an offense guy where defense is a problem. He shot 38% from three. He shot 49% overall. He was the 137th ranked player in category leagues post-trade deadline. He showed gigantic improvements. You can see his Darko and his drip deltas there. Huge, 91st, 94th percentile. He's not a high volume guy offensively. He's not an on-ball guy. He's not a great defensive player. What he is a scorer and shooter. But we saw that when Aaron Wiggins would be pushed into a starting lineup with players out, he would go crazy. We saw that happen so many times where it was like, all right, the Thunder are missing these players. Aaron Wiggins is starting. Let's actually go, right? He is going to play 30 minutes. He is going to put up big scoring numbers and we're going to use it. Now, there were people who would cling to the idea that he would just continue to do this. And that is where it's always worth this is the thing I think he's underrated a little bit in fantasy. Understanding percentiles or parameters. And what I mean by that is what is the likely range of a certain stat? We can throw, he's a 36% three-point shooter out there, right? You can say, okay, 36. But if you have no idea what that means, and I know you know what it means 36 out of 100. But if you have no idea what it means in relative to anybody else, that it doesn't mean anything. If everyone in the league shoots 25% from three, 36 is an amazing number. If league average is 36, well, guess what 36 is? It's very average. And if 99% of all players with regular rotation roles shoot between 32 and 38%, and someone rolls at 45% from three for a 2-week period, well, guess what's going to happen? It's going to fall back off. And that's the thing that would happen with Wiggins. He would come in, he would play these gigantic games where he started, there's a 30-point game in 31 minutes. He had a 26 and 24-point game, and they came on like insane shooting numbers. He had a 41-point game in 40 minutes on 30 shots. He shot, the 43% from three in that game on 14 attempts. And none of that stuff is reliable. What you need to be as this sort of player is is there a way I get 26 minutes a night? Can I do something else that doesn't require out-of-this-world shooting and incredibly high usage? And when those opportunities arise, yeah, sure, we like Aaron Wiggins. We like the value that he provides in those spots. But is there any hope of him getting a 27-minute-a-night role with 24 usage and shooting 43% from three? No, that's not going to happen. Would any team want to invest in Aaron Wiggins as that player? Also, probably not. If he found himself as part of a trade as the Thunder consolidated and grabbed this huge superstar, and then Wiggins went to a team as a 30-minute player, and he was a 17-point guy with 3 threes a game, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1.2 steals, we'd like it. But it's all context. So while Wiggins is useful, he does have limitations. And it's all about finding that right spot. So while it was a very good season, a huge improvement from Wiggins, he's a key rotation piece, and he's worked to make himself into an unbelievably viable rotation player. He's not this future guy ready, looking to break out. You could even say similar things about Isaiah Joe, who is much smaller than Aaron Wiggins, but he's just an elite shooter. He has way more deficiencies, though. His defense is a problem. He averaged 22 minutes a night. He played, 74 games. He averaged shot 41% from 3. He hit 2.6 threes with 10 points and does absolutely nothing else. His defense is bad. And the Thunder are getting to this stage now where they have got Caruso. You've got Wallace. You've got Wiggins. You're going to have Nikola Topic this season, who can all come off the bench, play rotation roles, and be spot starters. Where that time where Joe was that spot starter, where in previous years, where Shai would go down and go, Isaiah Joe might start here. He might take 18 shots a game in 32 minutes and hit 6 threes for a 3-game period. I don't know that exists, and I think he's a pretty huge candidate to be traded here, and I'm not even sure that him getting traded makes him a fantasy viable player, because he is just like a points and threes guy that needs a lot to really work that way. He's not a terrible passer, he's not a great passer at all, he's not a good defender, he's in fact a terrible defender. His free throws are solid, but he's just a 3-point shooter, a role player, and there are just some other guys that are coming for that role, or coming for those minutes, that's going to mean that even those little spikes that he gets are going to be fewer and further between. Let's talk about the Oklahoma City Mudflap Kenrich Williams, one of the most elite role players in the NBA. Now, not elite role player in the terms of Alex Caruso, but a guy that comes in and does what he needs to do. And everybody needs, I think, on a good team, one of these players. A Kenrich Williams, a guy like, what do you need from me? Do you need me to be a center? Should I try to shoot? Do you want me to defend? Do you want me to handle the ball? I can do all of that. Do I need to touch it? No, not really. That's who he is. 39% from 3. He had an unbelievable statistical profile, I remember, coming out of college as a little bit of an older player, but like an assists and steals and blocks guy with some shooting numbers. You go, well, there's interesting stuff here. And he remains that guy. He's one of the older players on this team. He's 30. He had 15 usage. He doesn't have to play every night. But he can be the backup center, backup 4. He can handle the ball in the second unit. And he's one of those guys that if the Thunder do full-scale rests in games, you would consider streaming in Kenrich Williams. Now, he's the worst probably of the 3 Williamses, but he's an incredibly integral part of a locker room, of a rotation, and just having him around. Doesn't need to play every night, but will go out there and do his thing. Now, he is 30 years of age, and given the nature of a role player, he is going to fall off a cliff very quick. But for now, he's doing his thing, and he's useful, but it doesn't matter for us much in fantasy. Let's talk about Branden Carlson, who was on a 2-way. He was cut because they had roster issues, then he was brought back on a 2-way. Actually, no, he wasn't on a 2-way. He was on a regular contract, and then cut, and then brought back on a 2-way. He shot 33% on threes. What he is a tall player. He's 7 foot tall, around 7 foot tall, center, who blocked shots at a pretty good level, a really good level actually, and shot 33% on threes as a rookie. He is, of course, 26, or he'll be about to be 26 as a rookie. He can test shots well. I thought he showed that if this is your third string center, I think you're going to be okay. I believe he played on the Raptors Summer League team, and when I watched them in person, I thought he stood out. I thought he looked really good on that team. And just think of the way that Quinton Post was able to have some success for the Warriors. Not that they're the same player, but Carlson's not as good of a shooter, obviously, but a much better defender, a much better rim protector. If he was 21, I would love this. But he's not. Right? He's 26. So I think that they should look to bring him back on a 2-way. Whether they will or not, I don't know. And someone should bring him in. I don't think that he should float around the wilderness, Branden Carlson, in the NBA. I think he's a solid, like the way that Jay Huff plays for the Grizzlies. Right? A impactful, rim-protecting, shooting big man. Carlson could become that level of guy, but we're a long way away. It's just a name to monitor. You wouldn't have seen much of him. He played 8 minutes a game. And on this team, he's just not going to matter. But he's an interesting player. The last 2-way guy I'm probably less interested in, and that's Alex Flagler. Not Alex Flagler. What is that? Alex. It's Adam Flagler. God, that's terrible for me. I was thinking Alex Ducat. Adam Flagler. I put the wrong name on the thing. My bad. Adam. A guy that came out with really good shooting numbers out of Baylor a few years ago. But, bro, when you're hitting 19% on threes, I'm probably going to need to do a little bit more. He averaged 2 points a game. He was the 530th ranked player. Wasn't there a stretch? He had a weird thing during the season where didn't he miss like his first 10 shots in a row or something? I need to look that up because he had like one of the worst games you will ever see as his first or second game. No offense to Flagler, obviously, but he had a absolutely stinking performance in one game. It wasn't his first game of the season. It was a game on the 16th of January. He played a few games and he came in, he played 7 minutes. He went 0 of 9. He had a 53% usage and it was a -12. He took 8 threes and missed them all in 7 minutes. Just an absolutely insane game. It was a blowout. They'd beaten Cleveland by 20 points. He played the final 7 minutes of the game and missed all 9 of his shots. Just an absolutely insane performance that, like, in a negative way. But it doesn't define him as a player, but I don't think that he's much of an NBA rotation guy. Sorry for calling him Alex. He's Adam. That is the Thunder. That's the over 25s. That means that we're doing Jalen Williams, Kaysen Wallace, Chet Holmgren, Nikola Topic, Usman Jeng. They're all coming up in the next show. So you won't miss it if you subscribe, so do that. Hit the button, leave your comments. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.